is the organization that's hosting us, the Orange County Iranian American Chamber of Commerce, OCI-ACC, without whom and without Shani's efforts, none of us would be here. Thank you very much. I've known you guys for, I think, almost 2 years now.
Yes.
And I really, really enjoy hanging out with you guys and networking. I'm learning a lot from you. The second is MSN Forensic Solutions, my own firm, a firm that I started a couple of years ago with Mahdi, who is also on this call and will help me present today. And another associate of ours, Andrew, who's also on this call and will introduce himself. Mahdi and I both have been accountants for many years. Accountants and auditors on our own. And we've been together for a couple of years now working as forensic accountants in MSN Forensic. You'll see from our introductions, he's also a very impressive person. I myself have spent about 30 years working for the IRS. My experience has been in forensic accounting. It includes all of my time at the IRS. I'm a CPA. I'm a certified in financial forensics through the AICPA. I'm a certified fraud examiner, and I have my master's degree in accounting and taxation. And so that's my background. And before I move on to my presentation, I also want to acknowledge the Persian American Networking Development, PAND, kind of our sister organization in the LA area. I've been a member of PAND for over 10 years, so we do kind of what you guys do. We try to learn from you. We do the same kind of networking. We have our own events in the LA area. We have Zoom meetings now that with this COVID stuff, we have Zoom meetings every other week. And you all are welcome to join our meetings as well. It's the second, it's the second and the fourth Wednesday of every month. So if you're interested, Shani will let you know how to get in touch with us. This week's or this month's presentation is on the most common types of fraud in small and mid-sized businesses and how to prevent them. Our firm is not a large firm. We're 2 people, 3 people, and I still have my IRS job and a whole bunch of other things that I do. We just don't have the bandwidth to deal with large multinational corporations. We deal with small and medium businesses as clients or their attorneys. And the topic, as I mentioned, is unfortunately about fraud. It's a topic that we often do deal with. Part of our forensic practice and most of our forensic practice is dealing with fraud. It's a common misconception that if I'm the owner of a small business, if I don't have 100 or more employees, if I don't have millions of dollars running through my bank accounts, I'm not going to be dealing with fraud. Unfortunately, most of the clients that come to us in our forensic practice are people that used to think that, and now they think differently because it's happened to them. And unfortunately, it's usually too late by the time they come to us that fraud has already happened to them. And so the only thing we can do is to charge them more money to try to stop the fraud from getting worse, or to maybe help them recover some of the losses that they've incurred. So what you'll find out is from our case studies that we're going to present to you, some of those clients have been small, like a hair salon, 3 employees, 4 or 5 employees, to larger businesses such as a tech company with several $1 million of income. But you'll find out fraud doesn't really discriminate. It can happen to anyone. It's like a fire. If you have dry wood in your home, if you have flammable materials and gasoline all over the place, if you have little kids running around playing with matches all over the place, you don't have smoke detectors, you're at risk. And that fire, it can catch your home, it can destroy your home no matter how large or small it is. You're not immune from it. So we thought if we provide you some of our experience, we're going to give you some of the case studies, some of the cases that we've worked just in the past year, to show you examples of what can happen, and to give you an overview of how fraud works, and how it can be prevented. You'd be in a better position to protect yourself from it. And so that's our main objective from this presentation. Our objective is to answer these 8 questions about fraud. What is it? What is fraud? Why does it happen? And when does it happen? And by when, we mean under which circumstances it's more likely to happen. How does it happen? How long does it take to discover it, to find it? Who commits fraud? Who is affected by fraud and is defrauded? And what are the best defenses? What are the best practices to prevent it? As far as what it is, there are legal definitions. I mean, the dictionary definition, the Black Law Dictionary, is knowing misrepresentation of the truth or concealment of material fact to induce another to act to his or her own detriment. That's just a legal definition. But the common definitions are something intentional that someone does to hurt you with the intent to hurt you, and they benefit from it. So you basically need these 3 elements to have fraud. There's got to be intent to harm and to benefit. Was that a question, or was that just somebody yelling at someone? Okay. All right. So yeah, if I do something unintentionally to hurt you, that's not fraud. It may be negligence, it may be stupidity, but unless I do something with the intent to harm you and to benefit from that harm, fraud. Why and when? We had this gentleman called Donald Cressy that came up. He was a sociologist that studied criminology. So he came up with the circumstances that really need to be there for fraud to happen. So he came up with a fraud triangle. 3 things need to be there for fraud to happen. First is pressure. And by pressure, we're talking about financial pressure. So somebody having financial difficulties, if my house is in foreclosure, I have medical bills that I'm paying for myself or for my family, I have an addiction, I'm addicted to drugs, I'm addicted to gambling, I have that pressure, I'm going through divorce. Those are all pressures that create an incentive that makes me more likely to commit fraud. Now, many of us have gone through this kind of stuff. You know, we've gone through divorces, we've had financial problems, we didn't go steal anything. So pressure, just financial pressure by itself is not enough, but it's one element of what creates that environment where fraud can happen. In addition to that, there's got to be opportunity. And that opportunity for in terms of fraud that we're talking about is where I work in an environment where there are weak internal controls. So nobody checks my work. I write the checks, I sign them myself, I get the bills, I pay them. Nobody checks how much I'm paying, who I'm paying. Nobody checks my work against invoices. Nobody monitors the company. The management's out doing their own thing. They just come in every week just to take the cash home. That creates an opportunity. And that usually leads to disaster when there's that kind of lack of oversight inside the company. But again, you know, many of us may be under financial pressure. We may work in an environment that allows the fraud, but we're either too afraid to do it, or in most cases, our conscience won't allow us to steal from that company. There's this third element that usually leads to somebody doing something immoral or illegal, which is fraud, and that's rationalization. When I have these two elements, I have financial pressure, I have the opportunity to steal, and then I start rationalizing why I should do it. I justify my behavior. Then I can do it. I see myself as a victim, you know. Oh, they make me work all these long hours and I didn't get anything out of it. Well, you know, this owner, he doesn't even work. He just comes and takes all the money and I'm doing all the work. Those are rationalizations. And what I found out in all of my years as a financial investigator, once you start rationalizing, you can pretty much do anything and not feel guilty about it. This is a pretty bad situation when I can rationalize. If I can start to rationalize a little thing, I'll rationalize big things as well. Because at the point where I can disconnect from reality of what I'm doing, then it's not going to make any difference. And so when you look at fraudulent behavior, you see all three of these elements. A lot of times people say, you know, I was just borrowing. I was going to pay it back. But by the time they get caught, they've stolen like hundreds of thousands of dollars. They know they could never pay it back. But that was the thought that started it all. Okay. So when you have these three elements, you also have fraud. Something called occupational fraud, which is something that happens to a company by somebody that's inside the company, either an employee, a manager, maybe an owner, a part owner, an executive, somebody inside the company doing fraud that affects the company. We call that occupational fraud. All of these definitions and all of these classifications of fraud come from ACFE, the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. This is an organization that has dedicated itself to studying fraud, you know, and answering those 8 questions we had: what it is, why it happens, how it can be prevented, how it can be detected, and what safeguards can be put in place to prevent it. I mean, that's all they do. They do this study every other year called Report to the Nations, where they measure, by doing surveys, they measure how many cases of fraud have happened, in what kind of environments they've happened, what's most likely to make them happen. And so we're borrowing a lot from those materials. One of the things that they provided in their manual is a fraud tree. So under the fraud tree, under occupational fraud, there are 3 main branches, which we've shown in this picture here. The 3 main branches are corruption, asset misappropriation, and financial statement fraud. So let me talk about the 2 that are not as relevant and get them out of the way. The main one is asset misappropriation. That's the one that we need to be worried about. But I'll go ahead and define the other 2 just so that you know what they are. Corruption is something that somebody inside the company commits because of the position that they're in to benefit to the detriment of the company. it's usually not stealing directly from the company. It's just inappropriate relationships that they form with people outside the company. So for example, if I'm a purchasing agent and I bribe the, let's turn that around. If I'm a salesman and I bribe the purchasing agent of another company to buy my, you think about that, that doesn't necessarily directly hurt the company. It may even be perceived as helping the company. The company's selling more of its products, but it's inappropriate, and I'm gaining from that. So it's corruption. I may be a contractor, and or I may be the purchasing agent, and I take a bribe from the contractor and give them the contract instead of somebody else. Or I give my cousin the contract as a favor, or my girlfriend the contract. So all these are inappropriate relationships. Why should the company care if the company is not being hurt here? Well, the company should care because the company does get hurt. That contractor that's bribing me is probably not offering the best service and the best product to the company. There'd be no need for favoritism. So at the end, it does hurt the company, not only financially, it will hurt the company's reputation, and it may endanger the company's very existence if it goes on for a long time. Financial statement fraud is the company quicking its books so it can look good for whatever reason. So they can get a better loan, so they can get people investing in it, so they can sell a stock for more, so it can get a license from the government. But it's basically the company's management, the company's accountants, or the company's employees doing something that makes them look better, like they have more in assets, they're worth more, they make more than they do. And so that's financial statement fraud. Usually big companies are audited every year. So it's a financial auditor's job to make sure that they don't misrepresent anything, but financial auditors are not trained to deal with fraud. So if the company's pulling the wool over their eyes, they probably don't have the bandwidth to drill down deep enough to find that kind of misrepresentation. But both of these happen mostly in bigger companies, and we don't need to be that worried about them. We do need to be worried about this middle leg of the fraud called asset misappropriation. This is the kind of fraud that happens in smaller businesses. And that is defined as somebody inside the company taking cash or other assets of the company out of the company. It can be just outright somebody stealing cash or inventory or other assets, or it could be all these schemes that you see in these little boxes that we're going to define for you. We're going to show you how these work. But these are ways where somebody inside the company can take your money and make your business hurt. Most of it is done by the 3 or 4 different mechanisms. You either have sales schemes, you have fraudulent disbursements, or you have misappropriation of other assets. Everything is under one of these. We're going to talk about the fraudulent disbursements because that's the most common. It's the easiest of all for an employee to do, but it doesn't make the other ones any less dangerous. A sales scheme where somebody intercepts the checks coming in from the customers and deposits them in their own account. It's just as dangerous, but it's just not as easy to do as the fraudulent disbursement schemes. With fraudulent disbursement schemes, as you can see, we have 5 major categories. We have billing schemes, payroll schemes, expense reimbursement schemes, check tampering, and then we have this register disbursements, which is something that happens with businesses that have a lot of cash. But those first 4 are the ones that you should probably be the most worried about and watch out for the most. So let me tell you a little bit about what these are. This is something from Oh, here I've draw these lines so to show you what I'm talking about. This is something from the ACFE. So we have the billing schemes includes shell companies, non-accomplice vendors, and personal purchases. Let me not define these because I have these in different slides, but here are the categories. And I want to get to this heat map from the ACFE. So you can see these are based on the actual live studies that the ACFE has done. As you get to the right-hand side of this heat map, and as you get to the top side of this heat map, that's where the most frequency and the most gravity of the loss is, the dollar amount of the loss. And you can see right on the top as the billing schemes are the ones that happen the most and the ones that cause the most damage. So let me tell you what these are. As with the billing schemes, the three major boxes that we had under billing schemes are shell companies, non-accomplice vendors, and personal purchases. A shell company is a phony company. So I can be working for a company. I can set up my own company. It's pretty easy. You just pay somebody $50 to register for you. I can set up the address of my own home, or I can set up a PO box. And then with that, from that company, I can even establish a website for it, make it look like a real company in every way. And then I can send invoices to my employer. And the employer will pay those invoices. Those checks will go to my PO box, and every week I'll go pick up those checks and go deposit them in my own bank account. Just that easy. Now, if the employer has some internal controls, somebody should check those invoices, should find out what was done, what was being sold, if they're for services. They should follow up. Somebody should pick up the phone and call that company to see if they exist. But when you're talking about a company where somebody's paying a few hundred bills every week, they may not have time to do that kind of stuff. If nobody's checking anybody's work, I may be the accounts payable clerk. I may be the accountant that pays the bills. So of course, when I get that invoice, I'm not going to question it. I'm just going to pay the bill to myself. So that's one mechanism under billing schemes. Another one is a non-accomplice vendor scheme. This is to be distinguished from a collusion with a vendor where I contact the vendor and I know somebody inside the company is sending the invoices. So the two of us manage. So he sends phony invoices, I pay the phony invoices, and then we split them. That would be a collusion scheme. This non-accomplice vendor is actually easier to do because this is done with a vendor without the vendor's involvement, without their knowledge. So I would get a bill from this company for $1,000. I write a check for $10,000 or $50,000. And then I write a check, I send it to the company, and then a week later I'll call them and I say, oops, sorry, you know what, I was paying this invoice, I made a mistake. The bill was only the bill was only for $1,000, but I paid you $50. Could you please refund us the $49,000? So they do, and I'm sitting there waiting for that envelope to come, and I pick it up and I go deposit it in my own account. So these are not stuff that we're making up. These are actually things from the ACFE that have happened. And they don't happen just one time. They happen frequently. These are known mechanisms by which people steal money. And you'll see in some of our case studies, we've seen this just in the past year, Matthew and I, in our cases. Another pretty common one is employee reimbursement schemes, personal purchases. So the employee uses a company account to pay their own personal expenses. So if I'm the accounts payable clerk, I'm the accountant, I write a check, I set up my mortgage company as a vendor, and every month the company will write an automatic check to my vendor for my mortgage. Or I bring in an invoice from my last cruise that I took to Europe, $10,000 invoice, and I pay it through the company. I may even make up a phony invoice to make it look like I'm paying somebody else, so that the name on the accounting system identifies a different vendor, but it's really going to Princess Cruise. So a person inside the company paying their own personal expenses from the company. And boy, do we see this all the time. Almost every case that we get involved with where somebody's stealing money, they're using this at least as one of their tricks. Then under the payroll schemes, this is another way to steal money outside of billing. One is a ghost employee. A ghost employee is an employee that doesn't exist. So if I set up someone on the payroll system that gets a paycheck every week, but that person doesn't come to work, he doesn't exist. The paycheck goes directly into an account, gets direct deposited into an account that's really mine. But I just set up the account under an employee with a phony name. Falsified wages is kind of the same thing, but it's for an employee that does exist, but that employee works like 40 hours a week, but he gets paid for 400 hours a week. I just set it up on the payroll so that the paycheck goes for wages that are way over the amount of time that they work. Or if it's for an employee that didn't work, but he still got paid. We just recently had a case that this was the issue. Somebody was not coming to work, but he was having somebody sign in for them so that they could get a paycheck. And you'll see that in one of our case studies. Commission schemes is for salespeople. So salespeople get a commission, right? If they create phony sales on the books, so they get a commission. So there's no money coming in for the sales for the company, but the company is paying the commission to that salesperson. We saw this one too, and you will see this in our case studies. And then we have the expense reimbursement schemes. So most of the time, in a lot of companies, the employees are allowed to make expenditures on the company's part. So like a contractor can go out, buy the material, do the construction, and they'll bring you the bill and you'll pay, right? Or the employee does that. Or the employee goes on a business trip, and then when they come back, they have an expense voucher, they put it in, they get reimbursed. So that creates a big opportunity for people to play games. First of all, they can create fictitious expenses. An employee that never left town, never went anywhere, they can put in an expense voucher for a trip to New York for 2 weeks. So all of a sudden you paid him $10,000 for nothing. An employee can mischaracterize expenses. He can go on a cruise with his family. He can go to Europe and come back and bring that $8,000 bill to you or whatever it is and mischaracterize it as a business trip. An employee may go on a business trip. You know, he goes to New York for 2 days. He spends $2,000. Then he comes back and puts in a voucher for $14,000. That's an overstated expense. Expense voucher, expense reimbursement. Or you can have an employee that puts in the same expense 2 or 3 times. So the same business trip that he did for $4,000, but he puts it in once, and then he puts it in again next week, and he puts in the same voucher again next week. So he gets $12,000 instead of $4,000. Check tampering. This is a big one. I myself have been a victim of this as a person, and our company we're a forensic accounting firm. We investigate fraud, and our company was defrauded with a check tampering scheme just not too long ago, like about 3 or 4 months ago. This is where somebody uses your checks to defraud you. One would be an altered payee. This is what happened to me personally. I wrote a check to a credit card company. Somebody inside that credit card company took that, whitewashed the check, put their own name on it, or not their real name. They put a phony name, but they changed the name, and then they went and deposited it in their account. And I didn't realize what was going on until I got a letter from the credit card company saying, "Hey, what are you doing? You're like 3 months late making your payments." And then I went and I checked in my online banking, and I noticed that the check that I'd written to them cleared, but it doesn't have the name on it. So that's one way. The other one is a forged maker. This is somebody stealing the company's check and putting their own name on it, and then going and depositing in their account. This happened to our firm. It wasn't an actual check, but they forged a check. So I think it must have been somebody that we paid a check to, an employee of a company that we paid a check to. They took that check, they imaged it. It's pretty easy to do now with the technology. I mean, anyone can do it. They created a check with a phony check number. They created actually several checks, 5 or 6 of them. And then they put different names on them, and they went to cash them. The bank called us and they said, "There's this person with this check here. It doesn't look right. Do you want us to cash it?" And we said no. But we ended up having to close our account. It was a big hassle. We didn't lose any money. One of those checks got cashed, and we eventually got it back through our fraud claim. But this can happen. And it can happen if you have a business that writes many checks. It can happen, you wouldn't even know it. We can have a forged endorsement where you write a check to ABC company for the services that they provided to you, but the employee takes that check and endorses the back of it as somebody from that company and goes and deposits it in their own account. That's just pretty easy to do. And then there's altered payees. That's the same thing as that's just a duplicate circle. The same thing as the first one I discussed. So these are some of the mechanisms through which fraud occurs. Who commits fraud? So here's a study from the ACFE. What kind of companies? Let's see here. I'm sorry. What kind of people commit fraud within the company? The most frequent are employees other than managers. These are just frontline employees. That's 41%. But the median loss that they cause is 60%. So the number of times that it happens is very large, but because they don't have the authority to steal a lot, they usually steal less. Next in line are the managers. They're 35% of the fraud is done by managers, and their range is a little higher because they're managers. They can override more of the controls. So managers on average steal about 150,000. Owners and executives, they do it less, especially if they're owners. Nobody steals from themselves unless we're talking about a company with multiple owners. There you see a lot of fraud happening where one owner is stealing from the others. When owners steal, they steal big. So you see the owners, there's only 20% of the cases, but the average loss is 600,000. And then the rest of them are others account for 3%. How long does it take for the fraud to be discovered? That's the duration of the fraud. With an employee, the average is 12 months. With a manager, it's 18 months. With owners or executives, it's 24 months. So it's obvious somebody has more power to steal. They also have more power to hide it. Let's see, what do we have here? This is in terms of the number of years that the person who steals has been with the company. Those have been with the company less than a year account for 9% of the losses, 9% of the fraud cases, and their median loss from their fraud is $50,000. Those have been with the company for 1 to 5 years do the most damage, the most number of cases, 46%, and the median loss is 100,000. 6 to 10 years is 22%, but they steal 190,000. More than 10 years, 23%, they steal the most. They steal 200,000. Males versus females. The males do it more and they steal more. That's basically the bottom line. So you see the 72% of the fraud occurs by men versus 28% females, and the men, when they steal, the average loss is 150,000 versus 85,000. So men, by their nature, they're more aggressive, they're more competitive, they're willing to take more risk. So that's probably what accounts for this difference between men and women.
I'm sorry, Shahab, I have to remind you of time. We have 15 minutes to end our Zoom, so.
All right. Okay, so if we only have 15 minutes, let me fast forward to the very last point I want to make, and then I want to give Mehdi the floor to give you a few of our case studies so that you can put some faces to these numbers. But you can see on the average, it takes about 24 months for the fraud to be discovered. That's one of the main points. So just because somebody steals from you, you're not going to find it out right away. It takes 24 months. And in 24 months, they've already stolen so much that it's almost impossible to recover all of it. And then the best defenses against fraud. Well, you can wait until the police comes and tells you. That's at the top of this. You see that by then you've lost on average $900,000. You can wait until somebody confesses. You can wait until the auditors find it. Then you've only lost 150,000, and that's if you have external audits. If you work in a company that has resources to do internal audits or management reviews or internal controls, those are more effective. The very best practice is this bottom, and that is when you have monitoring, surveillance or monitoring. That is something that you can do yourself. You need to have the tools, but we can teach you that. We can teach you how to do that. Or you can hire a firm like us to do it for you. It'll be a little more expensive, but it'll be much less expensive than actually being defrauded. Anyway, fraud is being affected by COVID. With COVID, we have more opportunity, we have more pressure with the layoffs and the financial pressures. And we also have more reasons to rationalize fraud. So you can expect more fraud because of this. All right, I'm going to go ahead and fast forward to our case studies. And I'm going to unshare so my associate Matthew can share and give you a brief description of some of the cases that we worked in the past year.
That's great. Thank you very much, Shahab. Shadi, could you please give me permission to share my screen?
Yes, I think I need to do that. Hold on a sec.
Shahab, if you
I'm stopping my share so you can.
That's great. That's great. There we go. Okay. Okay, guys, let me share my screen.
We are really running out of time, so hopefully, because we still need to have everyone introduce themselves and have the opportunity to network. So.
Oh, that's right. We need to introduce ourselves, right?
So why don't we give Matt? Oh, is Matty on? I was gonna say we can maybe do it now.
You want to do the introductions and then
Yeah, that would be
time we do the cases.
okay. Great. So I'm just gonna ask everyone to introduce themselves. Paul, could you introduce yourself, Paul H? Unmute, please.
Yeah, hi guys and gals. My name is Paul. The name of the company is BND Corp. We're a promotional products, or better known as an ad specialty distributor. We got about 370,000 products on our website. The two biggest, most important products right now in the world are hand sanitizers and masks. And no one has better pricing on hand sanitizers or masks than B&D Corp. 949-495-4278 is our number. www.bndcorp.com is our website. I look forward to being of help. Nice meeting.
Thank you. Paul Gomez, why don't you unmute yourself and introduce yourself, please?
Good afternoon, you all. Very happy to be here again. I primarily work in real estate doing flips in Riverside and San Bernardino counties, and I do some consulting as well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Mr. Larry O'Toole, please introduce yourself, unmute.
Hello, everybody. My name is Larry O'Toole, and I am the founder of a company called Yosemite Associates. And it's advisory work for business owners who want to have the uncertainty taken away for them as to how to optimize a future exit of their business. So we advise them on the steps to take in order to have a future, what I call euphoric exit event.
Thank you so much, Larry. John Jali, would you please introduce yourself? Unmute.
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is John Jalil. Thank you, Shawnee, for having us again. I'm with Transamerica Financial Advisors. I already put my information in the chat box for anyone who wants to go to my website and look at what we do. We do comprehensive work in terms of laying out a financial plan for businesses and individuals. This is in the areas of investments, insurance, and retirement. And a lot of what we do has repercussions on taxes. So please look us up, 818-451-0450, or you can reach me by my cell phone, 818-324-0361.
Thank you. Gita, please unmute yourself and introduce yourself. Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Pete Riley. I'm a retired attorney and business executive, and I volunteer time at SCORE. SCORE is a nonprofit affiliate of the Small Business Administration. We've been around for a number of years. We provide no-charge mentoring to any small business that has an issue they would like to discuss with an experienced, mostly retired business executive. We put on between 15 and 20 webinars every month. Now that COVID-19 is here, we don't do it in person anymore. And so we would love to provide you with our services at no charge. You can come see our website at Orange County, all one word, .score.org, and take a look at our mentors. You can take a look at our workshops and events, and we have a library of stuff, including business plan templates, et cetera, that you can get at and download at no charge. So thank you very much. We hope to see you.
Thanks, Peter. And we have your information on our website under resources. We do.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
All the time. Thank you. Geeta Amiri,
yes.
your turn now.
Yeah. Yes. Hi, I'm Geeta Amiri with GM Realty. I'm an independent broker in real estate, and also I'm a loan officer with Quicken Loan. And I just can tell you all that the rates are good, especially this week, last week, and for next month, I would say. And as far as the real estate, I just want to let you know that I will have a 2-bedroom, 2-bath in Aliso Viejo for rent. And it's really on a 2nd floor, and it's a nice unit. So if anybody interested, please give me a call. It would be ready for middle of July. Thank you.
Nasreen, unmute yourself, please.
Hi, my name is Nasrin. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk. I work with a Japanese company that produces a ionized water machine. It's a medical device you can have for yourself at home or business. It produces Kangen water, which has a lot of health benefits for drinking. It produces unlimited beauty water for your skin and hair, and unlimited hand sanitizers and unlimited soap. And we have turmeric pills, and we have shower units too. And the business is attached to this. It's A to Z Water. My number is 818-642-4444. Thank you.
Thank you, Nasrin. Okay, we have A to Z Tech Auto here today. Can you introduce yourself, please?
I'll be happy to. Thank you. My name is Amir from A to Z Tech Automotive. For the last 30 years, we've been doing oil changes to engine changes, as well as complete body shop, and paint to specializing in collision repairs. We are a AAA approved shop and take all insurances. We have 15 people here and 10,000 square feet, and so we can pretty much handle anything that you have, any cars in the street. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Jafar. I'm sorry, Jafar, can you unmute yourself?
Hello, my name is Jafar Abul Fathi. I immigrated recently during 5 years ago. I was the expert of taxation in the court, and I worked in the CPA firm that was one of the most important in the Middle East in the international field. I am studying in CSUN to upgrade my information based on here, and because I worked based on the forensic accounting and fraud auditing for preparing the report for the courts and the judges, and I want to continue my field of study because I studied in 2 majors, accounting and law, and worked 8 years for courts.
Okay, Jafar, 30 seconds.
I'm appreciated that you provided this session to be here.
Thank you so much. And you can connect with people on this board later on if you wish.
Thank you.
Sohaila, welcome. Can you unmute yourself and introduce yourself?
Yes, hello everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity. My name is Sohaila Sharif. I am a holistic practitioner. My office is in Thousand Oaks. I am a member of PAND, and I am so happy to be here. If you have a question about your health and you want to be healthy and stay healthy in a natural way, you can call me. And I'm sure you can find my information in PAND website.
Or you can write it on the chat if you don't mind, so people can connect with you.
Sure, definitely.
As far as our members are concerned, members will receive a list of all the participants later on from us. Non-members will just have to connect with people directly from the chat here. So thank you, Sohaila. Maziar Zamani, why don't you introduce yourself, please? You're on mute.
Oh,
oh my goodness. Go ahead.
It's working now. Hi, everyone. I'm Maziar Zamani, and the founder of Camp Technology and Marketing. We do website design, digital marketing, and our expertise is to put local businesses on first page of Google. So we'll be happy to help clients and friends that we see here. And that's it, because we are short in time.
Thank you.
Shanajan.
That's sweet. Safa, welcome. Could you tell us who you are?
Hello, everyone. Good to see everybody again. It's been a couple of times I missed. I'm sorry. We are a company name is Delarman. We provide technology service supporting for all your computer needs on a day-to-day basis, making sure that everything runs well and you can make a good business and have some fun, and we make sure you're safe and secure.
Thank you. I also have Bahram, who doesn't have audio, so he's sent us a chat saying his name is Bahram Zand from Orange County. He's a retired computer engineer. He has a master's in engineering and a PhD in natural health sciences. For the past 15 years, he's been working as a natural health consultant. He has his number and his email address also listed on the chat for those of you who are interested to connect with him. And now back to Daria. Daria, you need to introduce yourself and unmute. And one more time, for those of you who missed her, happy birthday.
Thank you, everybody. Hi, my name is Daria. I'm the CEO of Arcoderm. We are a med and beauty spa in Laguna Hills of Lake Forest. And we basically take care of all your beauty and your medical needs. So we do IV shots, vitamin shots, hair restoration, stem cell, all the injectables, facials, massages, hydrofacial, whatever you need from head to toe. Just give us a call. All the information and website is on the chat. Thank you, Shani.
Thank you so much. And now, Mahdi John, it's your turn. Please unmute and tell us all about it.
Sure. Thank you very much. Because we have no time, I wanted to, can you see my screen? I shared it already, right?
Yeah, I apologize. Mahdi, I forgot to have Andrew introduce himself. Is he going to be speaking as well? Okay, so make sure you guys introduce yourselves. I apologize, both of you. Go ahead.
Yeah, Matthew, why don't you let Andrew introduce himself as well before you start?
Sure. Hi everyone. Yeah, thanks so much. Very happy to be here, and I'm associate to both Shahab and Mahdi. My background is in sales and marketing technology. I'm a co-founder of a startup, and my third activity is helping big companies like HP, Aruba really get their marketing story straight and create demand through technology marketing. So delighted to be here, and you can get in touch with me through the MSN Forensics website. Thanks very much.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mahdi, and my background is in accounting, forensic accounting, fraud investigation, and I'm partnered with Rob. And I'm very happy to be here to, describe our experience about, some cases that we investigated already. Thank you very much. Okay, can I start, Shani? Okay. Okay, there we go. I want to share with you 4 cases. One of them is related to the restaurant business. One of them is related to the hair salon. One of them is to tech company. And the last one is related to the construction company. Let's start with the restaurant cases. In this case, we actually have a client that was investor which purchased 30% of restaurant shares. After some years, our client understood there is something wrong and asked us to look at the numbers. We look at the debit cards, bank statements, merchant accounts, tax returns over several years. And at the end of the day, we found multiple irregularities, irrelevant expenses, transfer money to different unknown accounts. And at the end of the day, the case right now in arbitration, a plaintiff wanted to file fraud cases against defendant. I'll walk you through about some finding. For example, in this visualization, you can see some flow. This is the flow of money from different bank accounts to different accounts. Some of them related to the individual, some of them related to companies. But that shows we submit this outcome, we submit our findings in the report and show how defendant create a company and shell company and then transfer money from different to other companies, and at the end of the day to send it to his personal account and his wife as well, and some some friends and relevant as well. The other images that shows some comparison analysis between bank transactions and merchant account transactions. The circle one, the black circle is the bank data, and the plus sign is the merchant data. And if you can see in the specific period of time, that there is no bank data. That means, for example, each each transaction that happen in merchant and bank match with each other. That means they sold some foods or services, the money transfer from merchant account to bank data. But in the specific period, more than $600,000 that shows in merchant account, but they didn't transfer to the bank accounts. That means he created the different bank accounts, connect the merchant account to different bank accounts, and then after 2-3 months, they change it to the previous one. And you can see some transactions that match between bank and merchant account. That's a kind of fraud that wanted to divert money from the business to the different bank account. And you can see many purchases that shows the personal purchases. We map it and show, for example, some payment for Uber, Starbucks, Vons, pay for AT&T, Walgreens, Best Buy, and many different kind of personal expenses that paid by the business accounts. The other case that's related to the hair salon, I wanted to mention we investigated some cases that very small cases, but fraud happened in there. For example, in this case, one of the partner, filed loss, asked us to investigate and look at the numbers in the, in the business. And the case is one of the partner exaggerated her own commission by falsified sales and services because he paid for based on a commission basis. She collude with the employees to record the sales under her own names, and also he withdraw money from the bank account as well. We do some forensics investigative analytics, and we actually analyzed some different data sets, such as attendance records, compare revenue reported on company platform with the standard price list, compare time and amount of sales reported with merchant account, different data set data, and also visualized time and amount of partners withdraw that can you see in the next slide. At the end of the day, case under criminal investigated, and our forensic report has been submitted to the police. This is a chart that shows the blue one is the amount that the partner should be paid based on jobs or services that she offered, and the red one the amounts that the partner withdraw from the bank accounts. If you look at this is the 3 years business, and at the end of the day, one of the partners withdraw more than $24,000 from the business. And the other visualization that shows the comparison analysis between merchant account data and CRM data that shows two stylists, one of the partner, one of them is the employee, that shows how conspiracy between two people to steal money. Let's explain about that for each. For example, this triangle that shows $140 a hit by merchant account, but it's not matched with the CRM data. That means they did some sales or offer services, but didn't record it in CRM data, CRM system, and the other cases, they offer some services, right? And they didn't record it, and there is no any record in in merchant account. What does it mean? For example, the partner actually do this intentionally because, for example, she wanted to recorded fictitious services to get 40% commission, and for right of this irregularities, didn't record some services that offered by employees in the system. That means you can see some transaction in merchant account. The and you can see the 140 in the CRM system, but otherwise you can see this. Look at the correct one. When the data is matched, that shows this sign is matched with the triangle. That means the transactions and the merchant data that match with the data in the CRM system. This is the very unique case that we investigated, and in thousands of transactions, we visualized in one page that show how conspiracy happened between partner and employees. The other case is related to the tech company. The investor joined an existing LLC as a partner, and the existing partner actually established a secret bank account and diverted company income, purchased his residence through the partnership, ran his personal expenses through the partnership, pledged company assets, obtained a personal loan, paid personal loan from company account, a lot of things also you can add it. But I wanted to just, mention to one of these items. Also over the course, in 5 years, partner diverted more than $5 million from the partnership. We investigated the case and look at the bank account, more than 300,000 emails, data, and many different data sources. And the outcome is the case in litigation, forensic report in progress, and we are working on it right now. And this is the chart that shows the orange one is related to the defendant, and the blue one that's related to the plaintiff. That's the numbers shows withdrawal from the partnership and shows how much the defendant actually diverted more than his partnership share. And started from 2014, 2019, 2018, and over the course of 4 years, it's actually more than $2 million. And the next step, we analyze expenses. We map all expenses in all states. We found some irrelevant because the business right now was in California, but there are some expenses, irrelevant and nonsense expenses in the other states. And we focus in just California, and I'll show you how diverted or paid personal expenses. The circle is the amount of paid for, this is the region or cities or counties or in Los Angeles, Orange County, and some cities around this. And in a radius of 10 miles from the defendant's house, you can see more than $200,000 paid for some expenses. And what is related to the, All Foods, Nordstrom, Zara, Gucci, Target, App Store, Ralph's, Best Buy. And the radius of 10 miles related to the office address is just $35,000, that most of them related to the, entertainment and, restaurant, paid for, meeting with clients and something like that. And the last case is related to the construction case. In this case, related to EB-5 program that I will involve to investigate the case. More than 80 investors from around the globe, most of them from Chinese people, Russia, Brazil, and unfortunately some of them from Iran, invested in the case in the program. And the bad guy, the Bob Matthew, very, very high profile people that have connection with the Trump, Clinton and George Bush. He defrauded investors, and at the end of the day, we submitted the case in DOJ in New York and indicted these people, and right now he's in the jail. And this is a conspiracy that shows he would purchase foreclosure house with investors' money. And this is the other one of the cases that Rob explained about that. And sorry for speed. I wanted to wrap up the meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We kind of lost a few people. They all apologized and had to go. Usually our meetings are only 1 hour, just so you know. We may go over a little bit, but usually we try to keep it within the hour that we have allocated. Thank you so much, Mahdi. That was really good. I know you were speeding through it. Thank you Thank you, Shahab. It's open for questions. If anyone has any questions, unmute yourself, and this is the time to ask the questions from our speakers.
I'd like to say I have a question, but I really don't. But that really was fascinating. I'm happy I made this particular meeting. Thank you.
Matijan, could you unshare so I can see who's speaking? Thank you very much for that feedback.
That was Paul Hersburn.
Okay, very good. One thing we would like to ask everyone, we're here to answer any questions, but one thing I would like to ask everyone is if you could, we're going to send you all a survey, and if you could tell us, especially if your feedback is like Paul, you could tell us how much you liked us, or you could also tell us if there was things that you didn't like, such as we rambled on too much, we took too much of your time, or what you would like to have seen. And then part of the question too is, as we mentioned, we'd be happy to share more of our experience with you on a one-on-one basis. This what we're talking about is real. This fraud thing is not just something we're trying to entertain you with. So if you would like to learn what some of the mechanisms are that you could put in place for your own business to protect yourself, we'd be happy to share that with you. But that's part of our survey. If you don't mind getting that back to us, we would really appreciate it.
We also had Sudi Faroknia that just joined us. Sudi, can you unmute yourself and introduce yourself? If you hear.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I've had the privilege of working with Shahab, and they're kind enough to have me as an ally. But they do all the heavy lifting. I just go and brag about them. Yeah, I mean, my background is in accounting and audit. I'm in risk management right now, and I poke my head in a lot of other things too.
Well, thanks for joining us.
I just want to say something real quick. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sudi.
No, I'm sorry. You know, I had to be at the Medicare for All meeting, so I missed the first part, but I wanted to at least come and show my support and appreciate all the work that's been done.
Okay, John, you can go ahead.
As someone who's been in business 33 years, I've seen everything Shahab and Mahdi talked about either happen to myself or to my client. So right on.
I appreciate that. And if you don't mind, John, circle back to us. I know you attend some of our PAN meetings as well. It's a pleasure to know you. But if you could circle back to us with some of your stories, we would like to learn more about them. And if you have clients that you think would benefit from our knowledge, just introduce them to us, please.
And
can I ask a question?
Gita, wait. While we have John here, I just want to remind everyone that he's going to be our guest speaker next Thursday to talk about his experience with COVID-19 as a victim of COVID-19. So make sure you all tune in then. Okay, Gita, you can go ahead and ask your question. You forgot.
Okay. The only other question I have, since I'm as a loan officer, or I have been as a loan officer in real estate, there are many frauds, especially when they comes to, I guess, giving their documents, paycheck, or the down payment. I think would be very good idea if sometimes you can talk about the frauds for loans or for the future.
We agree. And that's actually one of the areas in our startup company that we're focusing on. So there's a platform that both lenders and people, side beneficiaries can use to monitor that risk. I mean, there's a lot that goes in this. Shanijan, if you would like, maybe sometime in the future, a shorter presentation, but specifically about this platform, what its features are, we'd be happy to come back and do that.
Thank you very much.
We'll always welcome you. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, does anyone have anything that they want to say about their business or any of the events that is happening right now that you'd like to share? Sohaila, go ahead.
Hi everyone again. I just forgot to let you know, even though we are far from each other, I still can consult people if they have any question about their health, and if they need any specific products they know or we suggest, I can send them by mail for them. They don't need to be present in my office. However, I see some people by appointment in my office.
Yes, and you do a fascinating job, so I'm very glad that you could join us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any announcements, questions? No? Well, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you next week at 5 o'clock. Thank you. Thanks, Parviz and Parviz.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Very nice. Very nice. Thanks again for inviting me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Birthday, Daria.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, merci.
Thank you. Shahab, just so you know, for a short time, I kept getting messages that your bandwidth was low. So in the future, maybe you want to shut off everything else. You were great, but the voice kept departing on and off. And then I finally got a message saying that the bandwidth was low.
Oh, I see. Okay, sure. Thank you.
So just so you know.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. And then as far as the slides, I'm going to send you the list of all the participants and the the participant wannabes, and you can decide, you know, how you want to send it out and who you want to send it out to.
What we'll do is we'll send them a survey, and when we get the survey back, we'll send them the slides in return.
Great, thanks. Daria, did you have a question?
John, I wanted to tell you a funny story. I was in Vegas this Christmas with my mom, and I got a call from the bank saying they just purchased $11,800 from your business account. And I'm like, what are they buying? They said NBA tickets in New York. And then I told them I'm in a hotel in Vegas. You can call the landline and check the room. I'm here, and it wasn't me. I never bought NBA tickets. And they ordered pizza, and they used DoorDash or something, some delivery thing, to a warehouse in New York. Obviously, they found out who this was. And, you know, I mean, they got, apparently they've been doing this, doing checks, imitating our checks, and they took money from the account. But it was just funny that they ordered pizza and they got a delivery guy to deliver while they were doing this. So.
Okay, yeah, it's becoming very common. It's becoming so easy to cheat and defraud people. It's really unfortunate.
Yes, but it was great information that you gave us. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Just a point, one of my friends who is in accounting